All right. Right at the top of the hour, I will let people in as they join. But in case you don't know me or forgot who I am, I'm Coach Kris. It's been a while. I used to do these every week, but that got to be a little bit overwhelming. If you want to see previous things, they are on YouTube. So they're all there. They're out there. If you go to YouTube and look up Coach Kris, you will find me. There's only two of us. One is a dude who's clearly an exercise guy. That's not me. So you will see it if you just type Coach Kris. If you try and do ACA Academy, you won't find me because that stands for academic or like American Christian Academy or something, which is just some ginormous thing. And you'd have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. So just look up Coach Kris on YouTube and you will find me. I'm going to jump in to what I want to talk about, and then I'll go through some. I want to talk about layering protection with your consumers. Like, you have to do this because some of the rule changes are going to be pretty big, and some of them will, whether it does or not, the biggest one that's happening right now that I know of is I have to turn off this thing and get my Zoom to work correctly, is that the max out of pocket is going to $10,150. $950 increase. Get back in my Zoom. That's absolutely insane. $950 increase in 1 year. The max out of pocket is going to 10,000. That's just like, what? Right? So let me admit some more people. I'm going to show you a couple things. Make sure you can see it all. All right, can you see my screen? It says helping clients navigate. This is what you need to do as a client, as an agent, when people come into your office. They're going to say, what do we do? So I'm going to tell you a story. When I became an agent, or I should say got into the insurance world, I don't know about you. Did anyone here go to the guidance counselor in high school and say, I want to be a health insurance agent? I didn't. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I actually worked in the insurance world for a couple of years, right when the Affordable Care Act came out, and there was all this I heard, I don't want that damn Obamacare all the time. Like, that was my introduction to health insurance. And I'd go, you don't want tax credit? And they're like, what? I'm like, it's a tax credit. Don't you ask your accountant to give you every tax credit possible? And they'd be like, well, yeah. There was so much misinformation out there. So I was fascinated because I like to learn new things, but my history in work is I typically learn it, and then I'm like, all right, I'm bored, next. And I spent a couple of years in the marketplace learning, and I loved that. And I like educating people, in case you haven't figured that out since I do these. And so I was educating our clients. I mean, that we became known as the insurance company that educated people, because I didn't let people walk out not understanding how the marketplace worked. But it didn't occur to me how important my role was outside of just educating those who didn't know. Until I had a lady sitting in my office who said, I hate my job. I'm 63 years old. I have a 27-year-old boss who's now trying to tell me how to do this job. And I've been doing this job longer than she's been alive. The culture's changing. I don't like it, but I need my health insurance. And I'm like, okay. So I just ran her a quick quote, and she'd done well, and her income was going to be low. She didn't have a lot of bills. I think she was going to collect Social Security. And so I told her, I don't even remember, $25 a month, very affordable. And she was like, oh, I think I can retire. Now, I'd heard that before, but okay, it was just a job. That I said, all right, yep, it's very affordable. Call me and we'll get you scheduled. The next day, and some of you have heard this before, she burst into the office, like the not just my office door, like the whole office door comes flying open, and she went, I quit, sign me up. And I was like, I just impacted that woman in a way that is like not about health. I gave her the opportunity to quit a job she hates instead of hanging on for dear life till she turned 65. That's when I really started to realize, as an agent, you make a difference in people's lives. It can help somebody become an entrepreneur. I got to do that with a young man. I was just telling Joshua, my agent here, about that story. This young man, he lost his job during COVID. His wife was pregnant, due any day. He's like on the phone, nearly in tears, going, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't afford this. And I'm like, guess what? You collect unemployment. I got the best insurance you're ever going to have. And we started talking about his job. What was he going to do? And he said, well, you know what I really want to do? I'm like, tell me what you want to do. I want to do sculpting, metal sculpting, like this big stuff. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. He goes, but I've never done it because I need to support and pay for my family. And I go, well, guess what? Your insurance is free. Your max out of pocket is like $900. You have until the fall. I'll call you in the fall and we'll discuss this. Do it. Your unemployment will pay. He goes, the unemployment will pay my bills. I'm like, this is it. This time to do it. I call him in the fall for open enrollment and I go, so how's it going? And he starts crying. And he said, thank you for giving me an opportunity and my life back so I can protect my family. And business is going great. This is going to income for next year. And every year now I call him, how's it going? His business is just getting bigger. And I got to let him do his entrepreneurship. He's an artist. He probably didn't want to work in a factory his whole life. And it didn't have anything to do with health insurance being used. It was protecting him for his life. So I want you to remember that your clients are coming to you as the expert. I mean, this isn't a sales job. They walk into your office going, could you give me something? You don't have to convince them of anything. They're asking you, help me do what I need. Help protect me in case I need it. So keep that in mind. Find that, what is the reason you do this? If you think you're doing it for money and you don't layer, you're not doing it for money. Most of us are not doing it for money. We can make a very good living helping your community, your friends, your family, the stranger that walks in off the street who you help, who then tells their friends and family. We're doing it and we're giving them their life back. We're protecting them when they need it. You do realize we all sell a product that none of us hope they use, right? Weird. We don't tell people, nobody's building a car going, I hope nobody buys this. Nobody creates music going, I hope nobody listens to my songs, right? We are selling stuff that we hope nobody's going to use, except your annual. So, it's fun. So now I'm going to share some facts. Facts are 1 in 10 adults owe medical debt. The minimum is $250. Just goes up from there. So if every 10 people one of them's got medical debt. 23 million people owing hundreds of billions of dollars. That's insane. So 31 million people last year, 2024, 31 million Americans borrowed money. And most of them were between the ages of 18 and 49. There are some over the 50 and up, but it's the families. It's the ones who have 2 kids. So if this was 2024, when the max out of pocket was higher than it's right now, can you imagine what it's going to be when the max out of pocket is $10,150? And you're a 30-year-old couple with 2 kids, and one of you gets some, I don't know, a hospital stay, there's $10,000 out of your pocket. They don't have it. Sucks. So here's the healthcare trends. So the US as a whole, as consumers, we spent over $4 billion. Most of it went to hospital care. 31% of that is in hospital care because that's what it's expensive. The other one is prescription drugs. If you talk to any carrier, insurance carrier, they will tell you the number 1 problem for them is prescriptions. Because once the max out of pocket's reached on that $15,000 pill, they have to pay the rest of it. And somebody just reached their max out of pocket in 1 month. Well, the insurance companies have to keep paying that. Hospital care is expensive. And then physician services and some other stuff. So hospital should be the reason we're protecting people. Most people do not have $1,500 laying around. So how are they going to pay $10,000? Right? It's the growth of the cost of medical is way outnumbering the growth of our pay. So as an agent, you have the power. We have the power to help them. And they are coming to you asking for help. They're asking, what do you have to help me? So any of you who are a little nervous about offering stuff, it's not. The goal isn't to sell. Every client walking into your office deserves to know their risks and their options. Don't you want that? You want to have that? That's what they want. Tell them the risks and then tell them their options. I always do a bronze, silver, gold option. 99.9%, the gold does not make sense, but I'm going to let them go. Yeah, that doesn't make math sense. Why would I spend $7,000 a year more to save myself $2,000 max out of pocket, right? Let them understand it. And then you show them the risks. Every insurance policy, I don't care what it is, has a gap. Supplements are probably, Medicare supplements are probably one of the best without a gap. They still don't pay for long-term stay or short-term stays. Everything has a gap. Tell them what that gap is and then tell them how you can fill it. Your goal isn't about enrollment. It's about educating your clients. And I have never had a client or prospect mad that I showed them options. Never. In fact, we show options and they have their sister who works for a company that has insurance but doesn't have any other options call us to get some of those layers. I've never had somebody mad that I showed it to them. Now, you can actually say, well, I'm about to show you your health insurance options. There are some gaps and there's some big copays and stuff, and I'm going to show you that. Is it okay if I show you how to protect yourself from that? Do you think they're going to say no? Nah, I don't need that. And if they say no, go, okay. And then you show them the risks and they're probably going to go, oh, that's a really high max out of pocket. That's a high copay. That's a really high deductible. But they're all going to go, yeah, because that's why they're talking to you. So just say, I'm going to show you some of the gaps and I'm going to show you how to fill them. And then you can pick what makes sense for you. All right, so we're going to go over navigating health gaps. How do you do that? Point it out during your talk about their options, their health insurance options. They want to know what their risk exposure is. Have you ever noticed that people walk into your office and they all know what the deductible is? If they're coming from an employer plan, they'll say, well, my employer had a $2,000 deductible or a $7,000. They all know their deductible. And then you go, what's your max out of pocket? And they don't know. And they're like, I don't know if I had one. And I go, congratulations, you've been healthy. Because they don't know their max because they didn't have a medical issue. But show them what the deductible is. And I did put it on here. I need to put it on there. The max out of pocket. That is a huge issue. $10,150 is just astronomical. Tell them what the large copays are. For those of you who have state coverage, state plans that have a $0 deductible plan in the bronze, that's our number one plans for us is plans that have no deductible. They have a drug deductible and they have copays. The ER copay is like $1,200. The insurance isn't even going to kick in until they go to the ER. Show them that. Show them the copay for the hospital. Some plans have a 2-day or 3-day max, and then some are just, it's $1,200 per day. Well, if you're there for a week, you're going to pay $9,000, $10,000. Show them what the hospital expense is. It's a big one. The ER visit. Does it give help at home? Have you been asked that question? I have. So my insurance, is it going to help pay? I'm like, no, it's not going to help pay. Disability insurance. Every entrepreneur who walks into your office, you should be saying, do you have disability insurance? Especially new entrepreneurs. It's one thing to go, I'm a realtor. I've been making $300,000 for 7 years and I got money. Okay, are you good? You don't need disability insurance? Or would you like to hear about disability insurance? Entrepreneurs want that. I don't know about you, but I don't want to not have income. All right, so I'm going to talk about 5. There's tons of them, but I am going to talk about 5 ancillary products that I think you should be offering every single time. There's more. There's lots more. Go to my YouTube. I'm pretty sure I talk about all of them, but these are the ones that I think you should be offering every time. Accident, critical illness, short-term care. Now, obviously, you're not doing short-term care if they're in their 30s. Can't even get it. This is more 50s and above. Dental, vision, hearing, and cancer policies. Remember, the goal is to offer it. Doesn't matter if they sell. I will tell you, 75% of people will take 2 or more. 25% or 20% are gonna be like, "Nothing," and then 5% will take all of it. So, but great, they buy it. I honestly, when I first started doing this, I had no idea what the commissions were. It didn't matter to me. The reason I learned about ancillary products and layering, as I call it cake. Let me make you a 5-tiered cake. You can take 2 tiers, you can take 12 tiers, but let me tell you about the 5-tier cake. Is I went to a conference and some of you have heard of her. Galen Hendrickson was the first person I ever heard talk about it. Now she says stack. She calls it the stack. She's the queen of stack. But she was the first one I ever heard about layering. And it was right when the Affordable Care Act had this massive change in 2018. The president came in and did some stuff on the back end that affected insurance carriers drastically. So 2019, the rates went up 60% across the country. And those people over 400 of the federal poverty level, I had to protect because I knew they were not going to spend $1,200 a month for insurance when they were healthy. So I went, I have to protect them. It's like my obligation. I have to protect them. So I learned about all these layerings. And I wasn't worried about the sales thing because all I could think was if I don't do this, I'm leaving them to huge risks, to huge exposures, and I'm a bad agent if I don't tell them this. So I just started, I got a sheet I've shown people in the past. I just start adding it up and it just shows it. And then at the end, after okay, the accident, this is what it would cost you, critical, this is what it cost you. It's got a dollar amount at the bottom. And then they would say, sounds good, sign me up. Or I don't need life insurance. I already got that. Or, dental and vision, we're going to keep our Cobra one because it's going to cost us $12. Okay. And I would just remove it. I just did it. I just did the totals for them so they could see it. Every client you talk to has a number in their head. And I can tell you it's usually Cobra. That's usually the number they're expecting to hear. Don't sell to yourself. Don't assume that they're cheap and they're looking for the best deal possible. They're looking for your expert advice. Don't take away their chance to say no because you assume they're going to say no. What are you afraid of? Are you more afraid they're going to say, no, I don't want that? Or more afraid that they're going to call you saying, I developed cancer. Do you have anything? And you have to go, no, it's already too late. So I'm going to talk about accident for some of you math people. And you'll get clients that are like, does it make sense? So let's see. So Gina, age 41, she's paying $31.05 per month for a plan that provides up to $4,000 per accident. Now, there's all different kinds of accident policies. I just picked one. She receives $4,000 in cash. Breaks her leg, ER follow-up visit, the follow-up visit, cast removal. So she got $4,000. Is it worth it? So for the year, she's paying $372.60. One situation, she received $4,000. It would have taken her over 10 years to save that money. I don't know about you, but I think that was money well spent. And it's not a one and done. This one, the plan is $4,000 per incident. You got families with small children, you need to be offering the accident. Toddlers that thump their head into the coffee table, need stitches, it's going to pay the $4,000. Now, there are different types of accident policies that are some are less, some are more. I will tell you, offer things that are appropriate. If you have the little old lady or the single person that only lives off Social Security and maybe a tiny pension, and they're right above that 150 FPL, and their max out of pocket is, well, it depends on where you are, but let's just 12,000. And you're like, dude, I wish I could get a $12,000 max out of pocket. That is awesome, right? So we just assume they're low income and we don't offer them this stuff. And I'm guilty of doing that. And then I had a lady who went to the ER and her bill is $1,000. She doesn't have it. Why didn't I offer her an accident policy that would pay up to $12? Do you know what it cost her? $12 a month. She bought it. Unfortunately, can't help her with the current one, but I offered it to her and I'm like, I am so sorry. I got an accident policy that will pay that. Life Secure and Allstate are one of the two best ones where you can slide. So Palick, it's just 4,000. Manhattan, it's kind of a bigger chunk, but I know Allstate, you can say it, I don't know, 2,000, whether it's an accident, hospital stay. Offer it to even those who you think are low income, because they are low income. $1,300 is a lot for them. 800 can be a lot for them. So offer that. Accident is the #1 ER visit reason. So you should be offering this every time.
Kris, can I ask you a quick question on that?
Sure.
So I have run into some folks who had accident policies, but they wouldn't pay because they weren't admitted. So when they went to the ER, they called them observation, kept them for a few hours, did whatever, but they denied
That's
it.
not an accident policy. That's a hospital issue.
Okay. So it's a hospital policy. It's not the,
Correct.
so, okay.
Accident policies, I don't know of any that an accident policy you have to be admitted. Now, there might be a different benefit for admission versus I got stitches, but those are more the hospital ones, the out-of-pocket protection, hospital indemnities that pay for hospital stay. Correct. If you didn't stay, but those are hospital coverages versus accident protection.
Okay, so they would still get a huge hospital bill because they were in the ER under observation, but then the stitch part of it would be covered, correct? It really wouldn't cover the big expense, which
It
is
would
the
pay for
hospital.
it would pay for the ER visit. I mean, it depends on the bill. So, and it depends on the accident policy. This is Palix. Theirs is 4,000. So it would just be 4,000. Doesn't matter what the bill was. I was in because I need stitches. I was in because I broke my leg. If it's an accident, they're going to pay it up to 4,000. Life Secure has one that you can just say up to 10,000, and then it doesn't matter if the bill, if it's an accident, it just pays up to whatever amount. I think Eric's on here. Eric, you use Life Secure, don't you? So look at the different accident policies, but they will pay if it's an accident. It doesn't mean observation. They can
Which
pay
one?
whatever.
I'm sorry, which one's the 4K?
This one's
Allstate?
Philadelphia's accident
Oh,
policy.
Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah. I just I have these numbers memorized because I sold so much of it in the time, but there are different types of accident policies. Learn them. They all have different places. So
Kris, is there one company you recommend like that has like a package you can put together, like Allstate or?
I do like Allstates because the accident one is really easy to quote. You have the accident and then it pops up a hospital stay. Because again, what if they actually end up in the hospital? So you can add that and it'll tell you what it costs to add that rider. And then critical illness. Personally, I don't add the critical illness on there. I'd rather sell them a separate critical illness policy. Partly because when they go on Medicare, they can keep the critical illness and they're going to drop the accident policy. And they're not going to have that high of a price for a hospital indemnity. Those are different hospital indemnities for Medicare. So I like the Allstate, United Healthcare has got one, and Life Secure. I really do like Life Secure because theirs is a sliding thing, and it's just, how much do you want? So I really think everybody, if you haven't done these, the two companies that sell everything is Allstate and United Healthcare. So you can layer all of the things I'm talking about, not so much the short-term stay, but everything, you can just show them in one carrier and it makes it easier to pay. But once you've got that down, then pick up a different one and see what they've got. And because there is different situations.
And do they go down to babies, like 4-year-olds? Because that was the other thing I was looking into, is the
accidents
age thing.
pay for everybody. Yep.
Okay.
That's United One, isn't it? Is it United One or?
Yeah. Yeah. Same one that does the short terms and stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Kris, to be clear, is the 4,000, when you have an accident, they give you 4,000 or they pay up to 4,000?
This one does, some of them coordinate. Philadelphia's does coordinate, so it's up to 4,000. So if your bill is only 1,000, they're giving you 1,000. If you do Manhattan, so Manhattan has an accident policy that's per incident thing, almost like an Aflac type, where they give you 200 for the broken leg and 200 for stitches and 200 for the ER. So that there's those type of plans that pay you per whatever it is, and it's not coordinating. So they all have different ways of doing it. And I don't think any of them are wrong, right? Let's just say I give somebody the 4,000 and their bill is 6,000. I still saved them $4,000, right? And they're not going to be mad at you. Why didn't you sell me that one that was going to like pay me per, right? Find one and just offer it. Start with one, because 4,000 is still better than nothing, even if they do end up in the hospital. So, all right. Critical illness. chances of using it are pretty abysmal. There's your chances. Using heart attack, cancer, stroke, dialysis. The older you get, look at that stroke. Risk of stroke increases significantly with age. 75% of strokes occur 65 or older. But if you get them a critical illness policy at the age of 30, they have a really cheap plan. And most of them are issue age. It just stays at the age they're at. There are some that are attained age, which is fine, as long as you tell the client, all right, you're good from 30 to 40, and then 40 to 50, and 50 to 60. But if you can get them when they're young, most often critical illnesses are attained age. So approximately 1 in 7 adults are going to have kidney disease, kidney failure, and it's higher in men than women. And the average age of the first heart attack, 65.6 for men, 72 for women. Woo! Do any of you know why that statistic is? Because men don't go to the doctor. Women actually spend $81 million more in prescriptions than men, not because we're sick. It's because we go to the doctor more often. So we find out we have high blood pressure beforehand. Now, there's a whole nother topic on whether we should take prescriptions and all that stuff, but critical illness, is it worth it? This one is a quote of a 64-year-old, I believe. $283 for the year. They receive $10,000. It would have taken Bob over 35 years for that one payout. I'm going to guess he's going to say that was money well spent. And if they don't,
is that a
you
real
go,
price?
woohoo, you didn't have a heart attack, cancer, stroke. Somebody had a question?
I was just asking if that's a real price and who's that with? That's pretty good.
I'm not 100% positive. I think this is a Manhattan one. I don't like pushing one carrier over another, but critical illness policies are not expensive. They really aren't. So I think this was Manhattan's critical illness policy, but they're not expensive. So money well spent. GTL is a great insurance company that also has a lot of stuff, and they have short-term care. So does Manhattan. So find a company that's got multiple things so that you can just stack with one company. Because I've noticed back when I first did this, boy, I was like, because I was trying to save people money because they were over 400. And so I'd get them with Manhattan with this and Philadelphia with that and Allstate with this. And then they would call me about 4 months later going, I have like 6 bills coming out and I don't remember who I'm paying. But I was saving them $25 a month. So most people would rather pay one lump sum to one carrier, even if they're paying a little bit more. So, all right, short-term care. This one affects so many people. You can bring this up to people when their kid is coming in to help with mom, or mom's coming in to help with the kid, right? Individuals recovering from a hospital stay and need to stay home. Those who are intensive rehab after an injury or surgery. I don't know about you, but I would rather be home for a long time. Insurance covers only have so much. People with chronic conditions that have that additional flare-up. They just need support for a month. Caregivers. Oh my goodness, the poor caregiver who's caring for the other person. Caregivers who don't get a break end up actually having more medical issues themselves. My mom, when my dad was living with us for a while, she was afraid to go grocery shopping. What if he falls while I'm not there? So short-term care, again, you're not offering it as 30-year-olds. This is 50. This is the people that are retiring at 60 who say, hey, that long-term care, because they're really conscious of the future. Maybe they've got a grandma or their parent, and you show them a long-term care cost and they go, ho, yeah, I can't afford that. Short-term care. You need to be providing that. I don't know about you, but I would rather stay home. So is it worth it? It is a more expensive. Now this rate is somebody at 65. And I can tell you which one I am using. This one was Manhattan, and I just stacked everything. I used the slider and I just put it at the full whatever they were offering. So it is a little more expensive, $290.93. $3,480 for the year. Max benefit, 360 days at home. And by the way, I think every single short-term care will reset. So if you use it for 2 months because you had a flare up, or you just, you know, you broke your mom broke their hip and they're at home, and then they don't use it. Some of them, I think GTL just said it was 180 days. If they don't use it, it resets and they get another 360 days. So they receive $180. If they go into a facility, 144. So it's expensive. Like I said, I did kind of the max thing just to show you. But again, you show them that and then they can go, I can't quite afford 290. You got something for 300 or 200? Sure, let's just figure out what makes sense. So the math, 31 years of saving to get that 180,000 payout. And that's if somebody took it for the entire year in a row without any break, no reset. And another 41 to save that additional 144. Ask people if they would like to know about how to stay home. Now, again, this is elderly, you know. And I will tell you, as Gen Xers, you should be asking every Gen Xer if their parent has this. Because who's supposed to take care of mom and dad? Me. Gen X is called the squeeze because we have our parents, elderly parents, and our children that we're taking care of. Hey, does your mom have a short-term care? Especially if their mom is living with them or their dad is living with them. Dad says mom's going to take care of her. Really? Can your mom pick up your dad when he's on the floor? So you can bring this up to other people. Dental vision. Is it worth it? Don't make that decision. I know an agent who absolutely thinks it is not worth it. He would talk people out of it when they would be like, I want a dental plan. And he would tell them how it wasn't worth it. He would do, I don't know what math, and he would talk them out of it. And then 2 weeks later, they would call back to ask a different agent because they wanted dental and vision. Dental insurance is what the #1 requested employee benefit. Actually, second. Most of them want to have shorter work days. The second one is dental. Every employee application, because I do employee benefits, every single one of them is asking, and how much is dental? If somebody walks into your office and asks for dental, don't tell them it's not worth it. It's worth it to them. Let them decide. Hearing aids. Somebody talks about hearing aids. I will tell you my personal favorite on this one is Manhattan's dental vision hearing policy. Because you can buy a $35,000 or even a $5,000 benefit. By year 2, they will pay 70% of the hearing aid. GTL has, or no, not GTL, Cigna has a pretty nice dental with a $500. They'll give you $500 for your hearing aid. Well, if you know you need a hearing aid, I can tell you right now it's going to cost more than $500. Cost of a root canal and crown, expensive. Cost of an eye exam without insurance is $100 to $200, and prescription costs usually $200 to $350, and that's not getting all the fancy stuff. I don't know why everybody doesn't have vision insurance. It costs $22, maybe $18, and then your exam's $25. So I show them. They're like, I always ask, do you like to talk about dental? Now, ironically, you can make more commission on dental for a long time because people keep it forever. So let them decide. And I've had some, I've shown them the cost, and then they go, well, you know, we only get cleanings. We have really good teeth. Let them decide. It's okay to let them decide.
Kris, are you using Cigna's IFP one or the flexible DVH?
I do not use Cigna. I just was sitting next to a guy yesterday who gave me his brochure and said, we have a really good vision or hearing, you know, it's a writer. I know it's a writer. And I was like, okay, but Manhattan's is pretty awesome they give you, the reason why I like the dental vision hearing with Manhattan, if it's explained, you do have to explain this to your client, but they can have a $1,500 or $3,000 benefit that can go to dental or vision or hearing. It's not just dental, it's not just vision. So, but that's just me and it doesn't matter where they go, they pay that premium as opposed to having it be the really short, you know, the common rate type of thing. So,
Kris,
yes.
is there a dental or dental vision hearing that pays continuous good commissions rather than a great commission the first year and then it dwindles out to 2% the other years or something?
I heard of one, but I don't remember what it is. Most of them aren't. You're going to get a better commission and then it's going to go to $2.
NCD, I think.
It might be. Yeah, there's one. But to me, dental's just the ad, you know. I mean, I got clients that haven't been clients for anything other than dental for years at this point. Still getting $2-3. So most dental are not, but yeah, I think it is NCD. I know there's one. But it's
Okay.
still not going to be a lot, you know. They're going to break it down instead of having a lot in the first year. They're going to break it over an average.
Yeah, and I'd still want it to have decent benefits for the client. There's no
Yep.
point in,
And I think it's not bad. I mean, you know, it's not a bad. I don't know how it works out of network, so I just let my client decide. All right, last one, cancer policy. Some of you are going, wait, isn't that in the critical illness? If you separate them and money becomes hard and they have to drop a benefit, they're not losing all of them. That's why I like separating cancer versus having cancer necessarily built in. So 41% chance of individuals getting cancer at some point. Your chance of using your car insurance is 0.0006 and the house is 0.0004. And that's because California and Florida are messing everything up for everybody. High risk, men. We always think women and breast cancer, I think, because breast cancer awareness has been out there for so long. But men, 1 in 2 men versus 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer. Now, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad cancer. It could be skin cancer, you know, basal cells. But that's a scary statistic. Why aren't you offering it every single time? For every 2 guys you saw in your office, one of them is going to get it. For every 3 women. And anybody who's had cancer knows it's expensive and nothing, I'm telling you, it makes me so happy when somebody calls me and says, my spouse or I got diagnosed with cancer. Can you help me? And I go, remember that cancer policy you bought? It was 10,000. Your max out of pocket's 9. You're good. It was 50,000. You don't have to worry about your medical expenses. The rate is higher in men than women, again, because they tend to not go. Women under 50, though, there's a significant increase in cancer, 82% higher versus their male counterparts. So don't think this is just for those who are elderly either. And again, cancer typically is an issue age. When I go out and I do employee benefits and I'm selling Colonial Life or Aflac or Assured or whoever, I'm like, you're 23, your cancer policy is $2 for the rest of your life. Because there's a 1 in 3 chance, 1 in 2 chance, and they can get it when they're younger. Significantly higher when you're in your 60s, right? So math, again, I'm pretty sure this was Manhattan. 64-year-old will cost that. She receives 10,000. I went with the cheap plan. It would have taken her over 35 years to save that. And I will tell you, if you talk to people who go to alternative places for medicine, they go to the neuropathic doctor, they don't like traditional medicine, right? They tell you that. That is who you should be getting this policy to as well. You know why? Because they can take their 10,000 and go wherever they want. They can take their 50,000. They can take, you know, you don't have to just quote 10. Start it at 50 and let it work its way down. Let
Kris,
them tell you what they can and cannot afford.
so the question that's come up for me is, well, wouldn't my healthcare plan cover cancer treatment?
Yes, but your max out of pocket is now 10,150.
Okay,
and
so what is covered typically in the ACA?
10,150 is your max out of pocket.
Okay, so any kind of treatments, anything that has to do with cancer.
They won't pay for experimental treatments. They're not going to pay if you want to go to Germany because you heard Germany's got some new awesome stem cell thing. The nice thing about a cancer policy that gives you a lump sum, it's your money to do with what you want. And if you want to go to Mexico and go to some, you know, because America is very strict about alternative stuff. You cannot say anything about it in America about curing. So there's other countries. If somebody wants to, it's their right to go there and they have money to do it. And your insurance isn't going to cover it. And there's some medications. I mean, some of those medications, they're so expensive. And in order to get it, they have to pay for 2 months, but they don't have the money to pay for it because it's so expensive. This is going to give them the money to pay for that prescription. So it's their money so that they don't have to worry about the max out of pocket. They can also use it to travel. They're going to go down to the cancer centers of Illinois. Maybe they got the approval to go to Mayo Clinic. Well, they still got to get there. this 10,000, 20, 30, whatever will pay for that. So when you are telling people about these options, you can tell them the facts, but stories is what's going to make an impact. And if you don't have stories yet of the person who called you, my favorite one is I love Philadelphia Gap Insurance. And if you've heard me before, I've talked about, I absolutely love their gap insurance, but it's not the same in every state. So half their states have one gap insurance. That doesn't make sense. And the other half has the one that I have, where they pay 50% of outpatient and 100% of inpatient up to the 6, 7, 8,000, whatever you bought. And I had a client call me and said, thank you for selling us that. My husband, and they were both super healthy. He had retired early. They were traveling. Their whole plan was to travel, and they looked healthy. They didn't have a lot of prescriptions. And she called me to thank me because 2 months after they got that policy, her husband had a stroke. And their $9,200 bill was paid because they had bought the $9,000 policy. And they only had to come up with $200. I mean, I know of a critical illness policy, and I believe this is Galen's story, where a gentleman, I think his was 50,000, got diagnosed with end-stage renal or end-stage, like stage 4 liver cancer. He's not going to make it. He took that 50,000 and took his grandkids to Disney World, so they could all have this really awesome memory of being with him, and he could have this really enjoyable time. It's your money to do with what you want. Tell stories. It doesn't have to be an elaborate story. I show people that copay for the ER for our $0 deductible plan. It's $1,200 before the insurance kicks in. And I go, and my person bought this 2 months later, slipped on the curb, broke her leg, and the $4,000 paid for it all. And they're like, oh, okay. Understand how it's going to work. So there's plenty of stories out there. You can even Google somebody else's and say, this is how it works. And then you're going to get your own stories, because people will call you about this. We know of an accident guy who a branch fell on his head, sliced him up pretty good. He had to go, in the hospital, and we're like, yep. And the accident paid for it all. So tell them the stories and the reasons why. You show them the gap, and then you've got those reasons. I know we're about 5 minutes, and there's like 63 chats, and I'm hoping other people are responding because I will look at them. But I do want to tell you, I'm going to be offering a half-day seminar on May 15th. So if you are interested, there is a cost to it because I have to do some more fancy stuff. If you are interested, email me. You all have my email from the invite. And by the way, I apologize. I have no idea why it was sending out numerous things. I would add a new person and it would say, send it to only the new person. And I would say yes. And somehow it sent it to everybody. So I apologize. I have no idea. So now I'm trying to do it a different way so that I'm afraid to do it now. But if you're interested, it's a half-day seminar on May 15th at 10 in the morning Central Time to 2 or 1. So 10 to 1. And we're going to do some deep diving on some of the CMS rules that are more likely to come out and how to handle them, how to get clients right now. This is the time to be stacking up your clients. If you're sitting around going, I'm waiting for open enrollment, you're missing it. And we're going to do a little bit more walkthrough of how to do a side-by-side comparison on Sherpa, show those gaps, how you can show somebody a bronze plan, layer it. It's cheaper than the silver and it's better coverage than the gold. So we're going to do some more deep dives. So if you're interested, there is a cost. It's $100. Just send me an email and I'll send you an invite. And then here's my email. Take a screenshot before I close off so I can check my chats. There's my YouTube as well. But like I said, don't look up ACA Academy. Just look up Coach Kris and you'll find me. Those are the courses which I'm about to update. I will be adding, I'm excited. Health Sherpa reached out to me and is giving me access to their Health Sherpa so that I can start playing around in the sandbox, which I'm very excited about. So I'm going to update the Health Sherpa one, and then I will be doing CMS stuff. So
Thank you so much.
thank you again, and we'll talk in 4 weeks. Or if you do want to come to the May 15th, send me an email and we're going to do a little more of a deep dive and I will show all those documents I have. Thank you very much, everyone.
Kris.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.